Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, this week's episode, I'm calling my soup episode. I'll be discussing what is the difference between soup and stew, and I'll be giving a few of my favorite soup recipes. You know, on the East Coast, it's been so cold, and we've had some snowstorms. So it's the perfect time to warm up with a warm, healthy, and delicious bowl of soup. So stay tuned for that and soup recipes. And I just wanted to mention to keep the date open of February 11th at 2 to 3 p.m. I'll be doing a virtual special Valentine's Day themed event, a pizza cooking class with Neapolitan pizza expert Rocco from Rocco's Dough in Miami, Florida. We'll be doing a virtual cooking class, and I'll be doing a special dessert with him also. And it's got a touch of Valentine's Day to it because it's February 11th. The event will be February 11th. And pizza, hey, it's something you can do together. So please keep the date open. We have not announced yet where you can go to register for the class. It will be open to the public, but registration will be limited. So stay tuned for that. And you can check out my website, marialiberati.com, where we will have updated details, or the website for this show, the marialiberatishow.com, or you can just email us at info@marialiberati.com to be updated. So, what is the difference between soup and stew? The age-old question. This question has raged on for centuries with confusion and disagreements abounding. Even wars have been waged over the differences between soups and stews. Okay, maybe not that far, but in all seriousness, few people really understand the difference between soup and stew. But if you're a culinary aficionado, understanding the differences can help you open a whole new world of possibilities when it comes to liquid meals. So let's get into it. Here are the differences between soups and stews. First is the size of the ingredients. The first major difference between a soup and a stew is the size of the ingredients. In stews, the ingredients are typically larger, chunkier pieces of veggies and meat or meat substitute, so big that one chunk of one element may be an entire spoonful of the meal. Soup, on the other hand, tends to be made up of smaller and finer chunks of ingredients, allowing you to get a mixture of all the ingredients in any spoonful. If you're trying to make a stew, consider making your pieces larger, or if you are going the soup route, cut them up small to feel and taste the difference. Then there's the quantity of the liquid. The next key difference that separates stew from soup is the quantity of liquid in the meal. Soups are almost always more liquid than stews. In fact, to some people, it is the most important determining factor. Soup is often made with large quantities of broth being the main component of the dish, with noodles, veggies, and meat or meat substitutes swimming around. All that broth is great for hydration, which only amplifies how good soup can be for you. Stew is only made with enough liquid to submerge all of the ingredients and to hydrate all of the ingredients, make them moist. There's generally not a lot of liquid in stew. Then there is the cooking method. The final differentiating feature between soups and stews is the method of cooking. Soup can be cooked just about any which way. The meat can be cooked in the soup or cooked separately and then added to the pot. The veggies can be cooked ahead of time or thrown right in the pot raw to heat up. But stew is only made by using the stewing method, by submerging the ingredients in just enough liquid, broth, wine, water, etc., and leaving it to simmer for a long time. So stewing is different from soup making. So there you have it, the difference between stew and soup, carefully spelled out for you. With all this knowledge, you're now ready to take on the world of both stew and soup with your culinary expertise. Try making a new dish tonight using some of the ideas and principles you've learned here. And stay tuned for my soup recipe. So I'm going to give you 2 of my favorite soup recipes. These are my favorites that I use in the winter, and hopefully if you're somewhere cold, because the podcast is heard all over the world, so I could say if you're on the East Coast, but really if you're anywhere in the world where it's cold, hopefully these soups will help you get through the winter. So one of my favorite soups, it actually is my solution, or was my solution, to cold winter nights in the mountains of Abruzzo. Those of you that know me know that I spent much time in the mountains of Abruzzo, where my family comes from. And my solution to cold winter nights there was a hot bowl of freshly made soup. And one of my favorite soups is a farro lentil soup. And here's the recipe. The ingredients are a handful of fresh parsley washed and chopped, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 1 small golden onion chopped, 2 cloves of garlic, 2 quarts of vegetable broth, 1 cup of dried lentils, a pinch of salt, and a cup of farro. So you're going to soak the dried lentils in water overnight or for at least 4 hours, drain them and set them aside. Place the broth in a pot and warm till hot. Wash the parsley and chop the leaves finely. Place the olive oil in a large soup pot and warm it. You can either place the garlic in whole or you can chop it finely, depending on how intense you like the flavor. If you don't like it to be real intense, then leave the garlic whole. But if you like a lot of garlic flavor, chop it. And then finally chop the onion, and you're going to saute the garlic and the onion in the olive oil on low heat till golden. Then you're going to add in a half a cup of hot broth, chop parsley, drain lentils, stir, and let this mixture come to a boil. Then you're going to add in the remaining broth, a pinch of salt, place on low heat, cover and stir. Let this cook for 10 minutes. Then you're going to raise that to medium heat and add in the farro and cook for about 30 minutes covered, stirring every so often, adding more water if needed. This is my favorite part. So you slice crusty bread and you're going to grill the slices. Either grill them or you could even put them in the toaster. And what you do is put a slice at the bottom of the soup plate, drizzle some extra virgin olive oil on top of the bread slice, and you're going to put the hot soup on top of that bread slice and let that sit for about 1 minute, and then you're going to serve that, and you're going to mix the bread in with the soup. And oh my gosh, that's so delicious, because the heat of the soup is going to break up the bread and it will just add more flavor to the soup. Enjoy and stay tuned for my next recipe. And here is one of my favorite recipes. Now, I don't know if many of you have heard of dandelion soup or eating dandelion greens, but they are just so good for you. Growing up, my grandfather got me hooked on dandelion soup he used to make with his freshly harvested dandelion greens. Dandelions are extremely healthy for you. They are even more nutritious than broccoli or spinach and contain all sorts of vitamins and minerals. So why not eat dandelions? Apparently we should. So this brings to mind one of my favorite interviews that I did for my blog. It was an interview with Deirdre M. Capone, who was the niece of the infamous Al Capone, and her book was called Uncle Al Capone. And there's a chapter named after the unique dish that is dandelion soup. She would help her family prepare this soup by collecting and cleaning the dandelions. Fortunately for us, she decided to share this recipe along with some really interesting family memorabilia in her latest book. But here's the recipe for dandelion soup, and it's very, very similar to the one that I grew up with. And as I mentioned, dandelion greens are really healthy for you. You can have them in a salad raw. You can also make a tea with dandelion greens, which is very healthy for you. But you'll enjoy this recipe. It's really, really good. Here's the ingredients: 2 pounds of dandelion greens, a half a cup of olive oil, 3 cloves of minced garlic, 1 medium onion minced, 4 cups of chicken or vegetable stock, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground pepper, half a cup of freshly grated Romano cheese. So what you're going to do is you are going to also use about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Going to put the chicken stock or vegetable broth in a pot and let that warm. And in the meantime, you're going to get a large soup pot and actually warm the olive oil, place in the minced garlic, the minced onion, and let that saute till golden. Then you're going to put in the dandelion greens and saute them for about 3 minutes. Then you're going to put in the stock. You're going to add in the salt and put on the freshly ground pepper and let that cook for about 20 minutes, possibly 30 minutes. It depends on how tender you want the dandelion greens. Now remember, with dandelion greens, you do have to wash them thoroughly and you do have to clean them, also taking off any of the tough part of the stem. So mainly you want to use the leaves of the dandelion greens, and just make sure you can really cut them so the dandelion greens are in small pieces before you put them in the soup. And again, make sure that the greens are tender when you serve this soup. So you might want to actually cook this longer than 20 minutes, might be even 30 minutes. Once it's cooked to your liking, remove it from the heat. And you can do the same thing for this soup as I told you with the other soup. Cut a slice of crusty bread, toast it or put it under the broiler, put it at the bottom of the soup dish, drizzle with some olive oil, pour the soup on the top. Now this soup you want to serve with freshly grated Pecorino Romano cheese, and that just adds another dimension to this soup. It is so good. So there you have it, dandelion soup. Enjoy. Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show. Hope you enjoyed my soup recipes and hope they get you through the winter. And as always, thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle. And don't forget, save the date of February 11th for a virtual pizza cooking class, and it's a Valentine's Day theme. It will be with my special guest, Rocco from Rocco's Dough in Miami, Florida. He is a Neapolitan pizza expert, and he'll be showing us how to make pizza at home. And I'll be doing a special recipe also, so save the date. We will be announcing where and how to register. It will be open to the public, but registration will be limited, so please save that date. And don't forget, if you get to create any of the soup recipes that I shared with you tonight, take a picture of the recipe, place it on social media, hashtag the Maria Liberati Show. We're gathering some photos for the website of the Maria Liberati Show, so we'll be sharing photos, and you may be also entered into a giveaway for a copy of one of my books from the Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking. And as always, you can find me at marialiberati.com, on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Twitter at Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati, and my Roku channel, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati, and my book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking and The Basic Art of. You can find those books really anywhere books are sold online. I know they're on my website, marialiberati.com. Also, the publisher's website, artoflivingprimamedia.com. And of course, on Amazon and Kindle, Barnes & Noble. Really anywhere books are sold online, you can find those books for more recipes and more soup recipes. Thanks so much for listening. And until next week, peace, love, and pasta.